Taizan's truth.
Okay, thank you so much. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. A couple people, well at least one guy's, no, you're here for the first time on Sunday too. So 2 people here for the first time on Sunday, which is really great. So welcome to both of you, Mariano and John. So I always like to start, I always like to turn this thing on, so just in case I say something good, I can remember it. Okay, voice memos, and new recording. Let's start again. There we go. All right. So this is, what is the date today? The 20, no, not even, it's the 12th of May. So this is exactly 4 months after I got here. I started on January 12th, big storm. Remember the big storm that rolled in January? I rolled in just before it. Slid right in, 8:45. The storm hit at 9. It was pretty scary. And then, like, for the next 2 weeks, it was deep freeze. But at any rate, I'm here now, and it's a beautiful... Oh, I meant to... Can we open... Oh, good. Can we open the windows? I meant to do that earlier today, and I just forgot altogether. So there's one over there behind you. Maybe you already got one, George. Yeah. Okay, good. And then, okay, I think, like, you might have to unlock it first. I would open it more than that, but okay. Anyway, I guess we don't want to blow everybody away. Anyway, we had an awesome Zazen Kai yesterday. Worked on the art, had, listening to the birds sing. It's pretty awesome. So what I always like to do is to acknowledge my teachers and my teachers' teachers, and all of you for being here, because we're in this together. We are in this together, helping each other out. Nobody does this by themselves. Nobody awakens by themselves. Even Shakyamuni Buddha did not do this by himself. What's really cool is that in our I didn't bring it. I was going to get it and I forgot. But in our morning service that we do during session, there's a whole list of ancestors. And Shakyamuni Buddha's name shows up like he's number 7. Like there are lots of folks before him, and then there are lots of folks after. And then often in Soto Zen, especially when I started, they always talked about, I've heard a lot about Eihei Dogen. Eihei Dogen is the founder of Soto Zen, Eihei Dogen. And then I'm like, but there's this guy Keizan Zenji that lived a little bit after Eihei Dogen did. And I'm going to talk a little bit about him today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my trip to Japan. We're going to show and tell. I don't know if you guys, I remember one time I grew up across the street from the Presbyterian church. And I remember going there. It was like Sunday night they had like Vespers or something. Anyway, so I don't even know if I just wanted to escape from the house. I mean, I'm like maybe 10 or 11 or something. I go in the basement. They have this big thing, and they have like a slideshow, and like people like came back from China, and I'm just like, so bored. So I'm promised I won't do that to you. But I probably do want to go ahead and see if we can figure out how to share the screen. I think I made myself co-host, so we can do that. And then, is there somebody in the chat? Do we need to say something? Is there something that somebody said important? I don't know. Okay. So maybe just play, if you hit play. And then it'll just add, there we go. All right. So the title of this is, do you mind just being the slide guy? Okay. Is Keizan kept the flame alive. So Keizan, maybe go ahead and go to the next screen because it has, there, no? Okay. Well, that's Japan. That one. Okay, so he lived from 1268 to 1325. So Eihei Dogen, the founder, the first founder of Soto Zen, lived from 1200 until 1253. So this guy wasn't even born yet, but he followed in that tradition. So, okay, and then go back to, and then go back. Yep. Okay, yeah. So this is me and my buddy Ryuki Tom Hawkins. I didn't even know that I got him in the shot when I took this picture. So this is landing in Japan. So I can't remember exactly what day it was, but it was early in the month. And landing in Japan. And we're like, and he's busy, like our ride didn't get there. So he arranged for like a ride to go to our place, and they're not there. So it's just like, this is after I don't know how many hours, 12 hours or something. I flew to San Francisco because my friend Tom, he's gone and trained in Japan at to shoji, and so he kind of knows his way around a good bit. And I thought, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to go with you. so anyway, that's how I did that. So I went with him. He was like, he's busy trying to find the ride. So we're going with the Sotoben Zen Buddhist Association. Vicky Grunwald, who's on screen, and also George Patnode, they went too. So, and I'm sure they have their own stories, and I probably want to leave some time for that. But at any rate, so, here I am. I've never been to Japan before. Duolingo did not quite do the deal of learning Japan. I just was like, I could say, good morning, that's about it. Ohayo gozaimasu, or arigato gozaimasu. And one time I said ohayo gozaimasu when I meant to say arigato, which is like I said good morning to somebody I wanted to say thank you to. So my grasp of the Japanese language is pretty bad. But however, so I went, so I went with my friend and we hung out in, we landed in Osaka, and then we ended up spending a little bit of time in Kyoto, and then we met up with the group. So this trip, the Soto Zen trip, was to commemorate the 700-year anniversary of Keizan Zenji, and you can go to the one where it talks about him. So what's cool about him is that he kept Soto Zen alive when it was just about dying out. So I kind of think it's sort of a similar thing to what might be happening in quite a lot of Zen places now, is that the people that first brought Zen over from Japan and did their training, or even in Japan, they're having a hard time finding people to fill the temples because people are like, man, like they had the whole tradition of like, I bequeath this temple to you from the dad to the son, and now the sons are like, yeah, no thanks. So it's a pretty rough place. The point is that what Keizan did was he and his disciples went to these temples all over the country that were kind of abandoned. And they went and they started, if you will, to use a Christian term, ministering to, like, attending to the needs of the spiritual needs of the people in those communities. And so they made Soto Zen, they made this Zen more accessible to everybody. So they took it out of strictly monastic life. And I kind of feel like we're at a similar point here too, where, like a lot of us have been trained. Not everybody most people that do Zen, like how many people really want to go hang out in a monastery and train? Very few people, right? I do. I mean, I really did. I felt like I love this stuff. It's great stuff. Hardly anybody wants to do this. So we need a Zen that's accessible to like everyday people in their everyday life. Like, how does this make any difference to me in my life? And what I've found is that over a period of time, that sitting in Zazen, this is the spoiler alert, sitting for long periods of time in Zazen, in session, particularly in session with other people, not by myself, staring at my own wall. However, that does help to have a regular practice. But what helps more is to be in community with other people. So you have this container that you can wake up together in. And then it creates safety, and it creates... and you get to talk to people if you're lucky enough to like find a teacher that's been on the path for a while. You can ask them, well, God, how did you do that? Like, what did you do? I understand that like the Buddha, woke up, he woke up, if you will, awakened to the morning star, but he had like the whole earth with him. He had all the teachings that he grew up with. He had all of the way that he made his way into the world. He did not do it by himself, and he didn't really awaken until he finally accepted help. He finally ate the porridge, that kept him alive. And he said, okay, I'm not going to kill myself doing this practice, trying to subjugate my body. I'm going to accept my body as part of me, as part of the practice. And then I'm going to be here, they say the birds made a nest in his hair. I don't know if they did or not, but just to symbolize that he sat in a very stable, very steady posture. So let's see. So let me just talk a little bit. So his disciples spread Soto Zen in a way that took it away from the monastic practice. He supported training women and putting women in positions of leadership, which I think is really important today. He venerated Kannon, Kuan Yin, which is the goddess of compassion, on the way in. You'll see the great big statue that's there right on the way in. That's Kuan Yin or Kannon. And that is, when we say Avalokiteshvara, Avalokiteshvara is Kannon, is Kuan Yin, is the one that hears the cries of the world. So Sojiji was given, the story goes, to Keizan after a Shinto priest had a dream, and in the dream, Canon said, you need to give your temple. I guess it was at the point where he was transitioning the temple, like you need to give your temple to Keizan. He's a good guy. And then it's inclusive of Shinto or indigenous beliefs. Kind of after it came, like he moved right into a Shinto shrine, so he's going to be like more accepting of those practices that are more connected with the earth, more indigenous, have less, if you will, specific dogmatic ideas and practices, but are more connected to life and to the earth and connecting with the seasons. Go to the next one, please. Oh, that was supposed to be at the end. Oh, here we go. So I talked about the venerating the ancestors, sort of like this is the winding path. There were 7 teachers before Shakyamuni. So I think that if we, so in the listing of the teachers, is this connection to where we come from? Is this memory? There's a story about every Buddha, every realized being, the first thing they did, you know what the first thing they did was? Anybody? The first thing they did, ideally, or the story is, I read this in the book about Jizo Bodhisattva. The first thing that Jizo did when he became enlightened was he went back in time and space and he found his parents and he thanked them. The fact that this is like Mother's Day, like the idea is that maybe you've heard before that in Buddhism, you want to act as if everyone you meet has been your mother at some point or another. Everyone you meet has given you life at some point. Now, I had a very complicated relationship with my mom. It wasn't awesome. Most of it was pretty hard. So it's taken me quite a long time, like working with the Metta Sutta, working with compassion, working with having compassion for myself, having compassion for my mom, knowing that, like she did the best she could. It was not so great, but she did, it really was the best she could. And then going from there. But the point is that remembering that connection is what's important. I feel like everybody that I will say, anyway, for myself, when I wanted a spiritual path, I started meditating when I first got sober because they're like, you got to connect with something bigger. How long do I have? Only till 11? How long do I have?
You do till 11:15, right? And
Okay. All right, because I know I'm kind of waxing, long. But everybody, I wanted connection. I felt disconnected. I felt disconnected from myself. I felt disconnected from, I just felt at odds. I just felt like, man, I don't feel right inside, and so this remembering where we come from, like enlisting the ancestors, and then gratitude, and then remembering that we are a part of the earth. I am a part of the earth, and the earth is part of me. Like in my very bones, in my very blood, in my very tissues is the earth. I didn't come from myself. Okay. The 3 seals of existence. I think that's, like the Buddha goes back again and again and again and says, I teach suffering and the end of suffering. That's the really basis of what I teach. Like whether we are reborn again, where we have like there's reincarnation, that's the thing they came into or not, it doesn't really matter. I was thinking about this the other day, like even if I don't believe in even if a person doesn't believe in like reincarnation, like one soul like goes into another body, because that just in this one lifetime, I've had a lot of lifetimes. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a kid, my early life, my college, my early, business life, I'm so important, and when I got sober, all that stuff, I've had so many different ways of being, yoga teacher, Zen teacher, I didn't start being a Zen teacher because I thought, oh, I want to teach. I was like, I want to be a Zen priest because I need extra help. That's for real. My teacher says that, So-san Flynn says that, but it's really, really true. Let's see what's next. Okay, so this is a picture of Sojiji. So it's just remarkable. So you can see the great big canon in the back. So I've heard for a really long time about AHG. Oh, AHG. I read a book called, did anybody read Sit, Eat, Repeat? Anyway, it's a story of this fellow. He was a Japanese guy that went to AHG and trained. So I just barely heard about Sojiji at all. And I mean, all I knew about it was like they do the sing-songy chanting, da, re, re, ba, ba, really long. I found out the other day why that is. That is because there are 5 different buildings in the complex. And so Keizan Zenji had to go around all of the 5 buildings to like make offerings. And so they did it slowly so that he would have time to go to all 5 places and then come back by the end of the chant. So we did like the Daihi Shinrani, and usually it's like no mo san manda motonan. Oh, actually that's a different chant. But anyway, sorry, that's a great disaster preventing Durrani. The point is, we usually do most of our chants at a pretty brisk pace, and so when they do the really long sing song, it almost became, well, not almost, it became unidentifiable. I don't even know what chant we're doing. And then until they did it at fast at the end. But anyway, so my point is this. Sojiji blew me away. Completely out of the water. Let's go to the next one. Okay, that's the count on. Yep. It's huge. It's huge. This is AHG, which is still awesome. It's very awesome. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is just a hallway in Sojiji. So this is the hallway where, anybody seen like, what's that movie? Enlightenment Guaranteed? So, yeah. Okay, so there's a place where you see the guys, like, with their little claws, and they're running up and down the hallway. Those are the hallways they run up and down with the claws, cleaning the floors. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. So if you go over to the right-hand corner, that's the soda. You can't really see it very well, sorry, but so that's a place where you go and sit for meditation. So we went to AHG kind of for the day, and then we got on the bus and went to Sojiji. And then they fed us this amazing, weird dinner. Food, like, you don't even know what it is. And then, then they did they had the hot bath, and then you go to bed. And, we slept with, like, some professional snores, don't you think? We slept with some professional snores. Yeah. Yeah. So then, they wake us up, and it's so weird. They have like this loud system, ding dong ding, and that I don't even know what they said. I don't know if it was like good morning, wake up, But we woke up at like 3:30. I woke up 3 or 4 times thinking it was time to get up. I had to go pee like okay. So then we got in our robes, we got in everything. Everybody got all together. We got in our little lines, and then everybody kind of marched to this soda over in the right hand corner. So I'm sitting there on this cushion, facing the screen, with all the other people, all the other monks. Huge ceilings. And I'm thinking, people have sat here for over 700 years. Just to have that kind of connection to this, I mean, I was just so blown away. And then we went on to do this we were part of this incredible ceremony. It was the last day of the last week of 3 weeks of ceremony, celebrating the 700-year anniversary. And then just the precision with which they do things. I mean, like they have these big, look, so how we have the charcoal thing. So they had these things about this size, maybe flat with the charcoal on it, and they had people like these, so these monks, these young monks, have 2 of them in each of their hands, and they almost look like they're floating across the floor. They're like, putting them in place, like all synchronized together. It's just like, wow. And then so we're doing the chants, and then we go up and we offer the incense, and then we bow together, and then we go along, and then we're doing the whole thing. Go to the next one. Oh, so that's on the bottom corner. That's where we were doing the ceremony. And I can't, again, you can't even like depict. And I was like, we are part of this, like, such an amazing tradition. And it's not just the what you can see. It's the energy behind it. The energy behind it is so deep and so pervasive. Again, like that's where I was just like, wow, this is incredible. Let's see what the next one. Okay, and this was all of the people that were there. So most of the people in front in the brown robes, some of those are the I'm trying to think. So some of them are the Japanese people. Some of those are people that came from the States. So we had about 100 people that had come that were connected from not in Japan, that were connected, that came and were part of this. You can see, I can see Vicky in the left-hand corner. George is over there too somewhere. He's got a blue rucksack. Yeah. Anyway, he's right there too. So this was like the whole gathering of the group, kind of near the end. Let's do one more.
Yeah, the abbots in the front, right?
Yeah, the abbots are in the front. Okay, so this is me and my buddy Buddha, Bodhidharma. This is the last slide. Let's go back to the people, the big one. So, what I'll say is that I just feel like it was such an enormous privilege to be a part of this group that came to do this, and I also feel like it's such a privilege to be a part of this tradition and to, as best I can, try to like bring it like forward. And so I was gonna do the song that I did yesterday at the Zazen Kai, but I decided after this, after kind of working on this talk last night, and also going back to the idea of, the Buddha's premise of, I talk about suffering and the end of suffering. That's what I teach. I wanted to do this song. Thank you so much. I'm gonna just double check, make sure I don't know. It's like doesn't really stay tuned. Would you make sure that original sound is on? Did you do that? Okay, good. Thank you so much. So this is a song actually I wrote. Let me just double check on the tuning. It's not terrible. So this is a song I wrote. A friend of mine's kid. Actually grandkid, was really having a hard time getting and staying sober, and she told me about him, and I'm a long time sober person, and I just remembered that feeling of and whether you're alcoholic or not alcoholic, we all go through something, big suffering of some kind. Everybody, you get it sooner or you get it later, but everybody gets some kind of suffering. So I just was remembering that, like, desperate feeling of just please help. That when I was at that place. So it's called Start to Love Again. Washed up on the shore, all alone, nowhere to go, no way to get there. Please, please help me cry. The vast and luminous sky, I've heard the only ones I have ever loved. Just try to ease my pain. I need to find a way to start to love again. Slowly finds a way, remembers what it's like to live. Deep breath of the summer air, the eagle flies to the treetops. Please, please help me cry. Be the person I long to be. hurt the only ones I have ever loved. Just trying to ease my pain. I need to find a way to start to love again. This is where my duo partner does the solo. He's not here though. I won't bore you with the whole chorus. Each day it's another chance for all of us to begin anew. Letting kindness find the way. It takes the very next step. Pretty soon he's run the race. It's time to come home. Please help me cry. Love on this my dying day. I've hurt the only ones I've ever loved. Just trying to ease my pain. Maybe we can find forgiveness. Start to love again. May we find forgiveness. Start to love again. So, anybody want to comments, questions, ideas, anything you want to share, George, about your experience being in Japan, or Vicky on yours? Can y'all hear him? You can come. Why don't you come closer?
Well, I think the picture of Keizan Zenji, that was taken from I think like the second level. There's a large visitor center when you come into the place. It's a modern center, and so yeah, I have a photo of that too as well. So that's nice. And it was funny as you're standing there looking at it, you could hear a train station off on the side, and then you see business people, elementary school children, their uniform. They would all walk through the temple complex onto wherever they're going. So I just thought that was kind of impressive that, as a kid, you'd be walking through this very ancient temple to go to your school. But yeah, we toured Eheji, which was founded by Ehe Dogen, which is on the other side of the country. And when you walk into the place, it's up in the mountains. And it's sort of like walking into a cathedral, because you're walking up and you have these huge pine trees. And what the pine trees planted out front were planted by Nonin, who founded the place based upon his experience there.
Oh, wow.
And you're walking into this place, huge pine trees and and just huge buildings. And you walk in there, and it really is just kind of a very awe-inspiring sort of thing. Everybody was just kind of standing around with their mouths open, And but you walk in there, and the tour is a little bit shorter. The tour down a little bit. There were young monks who were out working, and they all had their white,
Like a bandana, Kenny.
Bandanas, yeah. And we're walking down these long hallways, and these very, probably late teens, early 20s monks, in perfect English, and they're like, "Hey, where are you from? We're from America." "Oh, you're from America." Because they're all like, "Don't talk to the monks," right? Young men. They're all like, "Hey, how you doing, man? How you?" And so we toured there, and we a large community center. It's a business center.
Can you step that way? Because they can't see you here.
Oh, sorry. Around the corner. Everybody. So we were at the visitor center, and there were various lectures there. One was by the Godo, who's the priest who's in charge of all the training. And so I kind of was a little apprehensive there, because we were all sitting zazen in very flat cushions, and so our class masters weren't exactly perfect, and so I thought for sure he'd all be lecturing us on proper. But no, we didn't. We just sat Taizan a little bit, and then we got up and left, and of course we had to exit through the gift shop, and then we're on the bus back to the hotel, another bus, and then we took the Keizan Zenji, what Americans call a bullet train, from one coast to the other side. And it was fun because it got up, I think, close to 200 miles an hour, so things were just whipping by you. But a very stable train. You just kind of floated along. We had the whole car. When Vicki and I went out there, it was very quiet. It was full of Japanese, and what I read about it was like the Japanese, all they do is just they read, they're on their text, or they sleep, and that's all they did. It was very quiet, very Japanese. But of course, on the way there, a lot of Americans, everybody was just talking head off and laughing and blah 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 blah. And suitcases were rolling around and everything else, so we Sojiji is in Tokyo, the greater Tokyo area, which is on the other side of the country, which only took just a few hours to get there. We stayed overnight at Sojiji, took a bus into it. So when you come into Sojiji, that's what you see is the big Keizan statue as you roll in. Large visitor center, large complex. I never knew where I was most of the time. It was all connected with hallways. We were all shown different places and so forth. Lots of altars wherever you went, and so we're told to, we got an altar here, so everybody to stop and gasho and bow down a long hallway to something, some kind of ritual. Backing up a little bit, Eiheiji, there was the Founders Hall, very old building with a large open front. All the ordained, everybody with an okesa, which is about half of us, they all filed in. That's where Eihei Dogen's ashes are, and all these different ihais. There's ihais out there of Noden and Kyoki. They're a plaque with their name on it and so forth. Just walls and walls.
That was amazing.
And one of the tour guides, I think his grandfather or great-grandfather was abbot of AEG, so he was quite emotional, saying it was very special for him to have practiced there with one of his relatives. So everybody got there out there. So yeah, it was very special. But anyway, Sojiji, we stayed overnight at Sojiji's. We got to pretend we're monks. We were all in the community center, very large auditorium, tatami mats. I slept up front underneath the big Buddha, which was on the stage. So Buddha stared at me. And the women were at another place. 3:20 in the morning, announcement went off, lights went up. And so we all had futons out and everything else. And it was like sesshin. You got up, you got dressed, you got your thing rolled out. Everybody was just busting move. You had to organize your sheets in pillowcases to put them in the correct piles. We all got in our lines, and then we all went down various hallways, and we were just moving around. We were quiet, hands in shoshu, just booking right along, trying to get there. And then we walked into the Zendo. There was a Soto, which was the trainer's training hall for training monks. You could only go in there with a ceremony, and you went in there, you stayed in there. Monks who were training sat zazen, ate, and slept there. And you looked at this place. It was very old, very austere, had tremendous energy there. And Nonen had practiced there. So I was thinking the whole time, Nonen is one of the few Westerns there.
So he trained in Sojiji?
I think so.
Wow,
there,
cool.
And then another monastery was up in the mountain somewhere.
So we're right up at time.
Okay.
So we can talk more. You guys can.
Well, let me wrap up here.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we went in the Zendo. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. We all sat, which was very special. And I gotta say, the Jikido was ringing the bell, rang just the same as we were ringing here.
Yep.
So there wasn't anything different. It was the same kind of bell sound, same kind of everything else. And I want to say, sitting zazen at Eiheiji and Sojiji was basically just sitting zazen here. Body, mind, breath, body, mind, breath. And yes, at Eiheiji, I dozed off too. It was a long day, and I thought, zazen, good night, everybody. So, anyway, that's
Thank you so much. Anybody want to say anything quick before we go? Going once, going twice. All right, let's shut her down.